Can I pull your tooth?
No, thank you.
Well, while we were in the kitchen, we realized that Josie had a wiggly tooth.
Here, turn right here. Let me see. Yeah, let's see. Is it very loose? Let me see. I know, I'm not pulling it out. I'm just seeing if it's loose. Go see. That's about to fall out.
I know, I can pull it out, though.
Let's see if you can pull it.
It was a Sunday morning unlike any other in the Duggar household. Usually, the air was alive with sound, children laughing, the clatter of dishes in the kitchen, and the rhythmic hum of everyday life. But today, silence had fallen like a heavy blanket over the house. Even the clock ticking in the hallway seemed louder than usual. The light coming through the curtains was soft and gray, and there was an unmistakable sense of fear floating in the air. Michelle Duggar stood by the sink, clutching a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. Her eyes were distant, unfocused, staring but not seeing. Jim Bob sat on the couch, elbows on his knees, fingers clasped together tightly as if he was holding on to a prayer. Neither of them spoke for several minutes. The sound of the ceiling fan above was the only thing moving in the stillness. Upstairs, Jana Duggar quietly entered the small bedroom at the end of the hall. The curtains were half drawn, and the faint light revealed Josie Duggar lying on her bed, pale, sweating, her small chest rising and falling unevenly. The once lively and cheerful youngest daughter looked fragile, like a candle flickering in the wind. Jana sat down beside her, wringing a damp cloth in cold water and placing it gently on Josie's forehead. Jana softly, "You'll be okay, Josie. Just hold on, okay?" Josie's lips parted slightly, her voice weak. "Josie, I'm so cold, Jana." Jana's heart broke. She tucked the blanket closer around her sister, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Michelle walked in quietly, her eyes immediately filling with tears as she saw her youngest child shivering beneath the covers. She reached for Josie's hand. It felt hot as fire. "Michelle. Oh God, she's burning up again." Jim Bob's voice echoed from downstairs. "Do we need to call the doctor again?" Michelle hesitated, then nodded. "Yes. Call Dr. Peters. Tell him it's getting worse." While Jim Bob made the call, the rest of the family gathered slowly in the living room. One by one, the Duggar children appeared, some holding hands, others with tears in their eyes. The house that was once full of laughter now felt like a hospital waiting room. Even little Jordan and Jennifer sat quietly, too afraid to speak. Jinger and Jeremy arrived later that afternoon, having driven for hours from Texas. The moment Jinger saw her mother, she rushed into her arms. Jinger crying, "Is she okay, Mom?" "Michelle. She's fighting, honey. But I don't know how much longer." Outside, the weather seemed to match their fear. The clouds had gathered darkly over the sky, and soft rain began to fall, tapping gently against the windows. The storm's low rumble filled the silence between sobs. That night, Michelle refused to leave Josie's bedside. Jim Bob brought her a blanket, but she didn't move. Jana sat in the rocking chair by the window, staring out at the rain, whispering silent prayers. Occasionally, she'd look over and see her mother's lips moving, also praying. At 11:48 p.m., Josie's fever spiked again. She began to mumble incoherently, her breathing uneven. Michelle panicked and called for Jim Bob. "Something's wrong," she screamed. Jim Bob rushed upstairs, followed by Jana and Jinger. Dr. Peters was on speakerphone, trying to guide them through what to do. "Cool her down slowly. Don't panic. Keep her hydrated." But Michelle could barely hear him over the sound of her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. Michelle crying, "She's slipping away, Jim Bob. Do something." Jim Bob voice shaking, "We're not losing her. Not again." He knelt beside the bed, holding Josie's hand tightly. Her small fingers barely responded. The house was filled with the sounds of crying, praying, and the quiet hum of a child fighting to stay alive. Finally, after what felt like hours, Josie's breathing steadied just a little. The fever broke slightly, and her body relaxed. Michelle collapsed against Jim Bob's shoulder, exhausted and trembling. Jana closed her eyes, whispering a broken "Thank you, God." But deep down, everyone knew this wasn't over. Something darker was coming. Josie's illness wasn't ordinary. It was the beginning of something that would test the strength of the entire Duggar family like never before. The camera pans out from the small bedroom window, showing the house shrouded in darkness, the storm still raging outside. A faint flicker of light glows from Josie's room, a symbol of fragile hope amidst the storm. The rain had not stopped all night. By the time Jim Bob and Michelle finally decided to take Josie to the hospital, it was nearly 2 a.m. The thunder rolled like a heartbeat through the sky, and lightning flashed across the empty highway as their van raced toward the medical center. Josie lay in the back seat, wrapped tightly in a blanket, her head resting on Michelle's lap. Her skin was pale and her breathing shallow, each inhale sounding weaker than the last. Jana sat beside her mother, holding Josie's tiny hand, whispering over and over, "Stay with us, please stay with us." Inside the van, silence reigned except for the sound of the windshield wipers and Michelle's quiet sobs. Jim Bob's eyes were fixed on the dark road ahead, but tears kept blurring his vision. He whispered to himself, "Not again, not my baby girl." When they reached the hospital, nurses rushed forward with a stretcher. Michelle refused to let go of Josie's hand as they wheeled her into the emergency room. Bright lights flooded the corridor, and the smell of antiseptic filled the air, cold, sterile, unforgiving. Dr. Peters met them at the door, his expression grave but calm. "Dr. Peters, we'll do everything we can. She's very weak, but she's a fighter." Michelle, through tears, "Please, she's been fighting her whole life." The family waited outside the emergency ward. The minutes felt like hours. Jana paced the hallway, biting her lip to stop herself from crying. Jinger sat beside Michelle, her head on her mother's shoulder, whispering prayers under her breath. Suddenly, Josie's heart monitor beeped rapidly, then slowed. A nurse called out for the doctor. The door to the ward slammed shut. The family could only watch through the small window as doctors rushed around her. Michelle clutched Jim Bob's arm, shaking. Michelle panicked. "What's happening? What are they doing?" Jim Bob softly, "They're helping her, honey, they have to." A nurse stepped out moments later, her face calm but her voice heavy. "Nurse, she's stable for now. We've managed to bring the fever down, but she's not out of danger yet." The family exhaled in shaky relief. Michelle broke down, crying silently into Jim Bob's chest. Jana leaned against the wall, whispering, "Thank you, Lord." Hours passed. The rain outside eased into a gentle drizzle. The clock on the wall ticked past 5 a.m. The hallway was nearly empty now, except for the Duggars. The fluorescent lights buzzed faintly overhead. Michelle walked into Josie's room once the nurses allowed her. The sight made her heart ache, her baby girl hooked up to 4 lines, heart monitor blinking slowly beside her bed. She took Josie's hand in hers, whispering softly, "Michelle, you're so strong, Josie. You've always been strong. Remember when you were born early and everyone said you might not make it? But you did. You proved them wrong." Josie stirred slightly, her eyes fluttering open for a brief moment. Josie weakly, "Mom, I'm tired." Michelle, tears falling, "I know, sweetheart. Rest now. We're right here with you." Outside the room, Jim Bob sat with Jana, his voice quiet. "Jim Bob, you know, when Josie was born, I promised God I'd never take her for granted. And now I feel like I failed." "Jana, you didn't fail, Dad. You've done everything. We all have." But Jim Bob didn't reply. His eyes were glassy, haunted by memories of every moment he might have missed, every time he was too busy to say, "I love you." The rest of the family began arriving at the hospital. Jessa came with Ben, holding coffee for everyone. Joy and Austin came too, their eyes swollen from crying. Even Josh and Anna arrived quietly, avoiding everyone's gaze but clearly broken inside. By sunrise, the waiting room was full, siblings praying, whispering, hugging one another. For the first time in years, all the Duggars were in one place again, united not by fame or faith, but by fear of losing the youngest one they all adored. Around 8 a.m., Dr. Peters returned with an update. "Dr. Peters, she's stable right now, but her body is exhausted. We're running more tests to see what caused this sudden infection. It could be viral or something else." Jinger worried, "Something else? What do you mean?" "Dr. Peters, we won't know until the results come back, but I want you to be prepared. It might not be just a fever." Michelle's face went white. "Not just a fever." The words echoed in her head like a curse. She turned toward the hospital window, watching the morning sun struggle to break through the gray clouds. Her mind filled with dread. That night, as the hospital quieted down, Jana sat beside Josie again. The monitor beeped softly, steady but fragile. Jana reached into her bag and took out an old photo. A picture of all 19 siblings smiling in the old house, Josie in Michelle's arms, just a baby. Jana whispering, "You brought all of us together back then. And now you're doing it again." A single tear rolled down her cheek as she held Josie's hand tighter. Outside, the moon shone dimly through the hospital window. Inside, hope flickered like a small candle in the dark. But something was changing. Deep inside Josie's frail body, something the doctors hadn't yet discovered was beginning to spread. Silent, unseen, dangerous. And as the camera slowly zoomed out from the hospital window, the narrator's voice echoed softly. Sometimes a storm doesn't end when the rain stops. Sometimes it only changes shape. The hospital room was bathed in the pale light of dawn. The machines beeped steadily beside Josie's bed, each sound like a fragile heartbeat echoing through the room. Michelle hadn't slept all night. Her hair was disheveled, her eyes swollen, but she refused to move from Josie's side. She held her daughter's hand as if letting go would mean losing her forever. Jim Bob sat in a corner chair, head bowed, whispering a silent prayer. Every few minutes, he would glance at the monitor just to make sure it was still beeping. Jana and Jinger stood near the door, whispering softly, trying to keep their younger siblings calm as they waited for news. At 9:30 a.m., the door opened quietly. Dr. Peters entered, holding a folder in his hand. His expression was serious, his steps slow. The room fell silent instantly. Michelle's heart began to race. She could feel the fear rise in her chest before he even spoke. "Dr. Peters, we got the test results back." Pauses, looks at both parents. "It's not just an ordinary fever or viral infection." Michelle gripped Josie's hand tighter. "Michelle, what do you mean?" "Dr. Peters, there's an infection in her bloodstream. It's called bacterial sepsis. It's rare and extremely dangerous if not treated quickly. We've already started the strongest antibiotics, but her immune system is very weak." Jana gasped quietly. Jinger covered her mouth with her hand. Jim Bob stood up slowly, his voice breaking. "Jim Bob, sepsis, that's life-threatening, isn't it?" "Dr. Peters, yes, but there's still a chance, as long as her body continues to fight." The doctor's words hung in the air like a shadow. No one spoke for a while. Michelle sat frozen, tears rolling silently down her face. "She's been fighting since the day she was born," she whispered. "And now she has to fight again." Later that afternoon, the rest of the Duggar siblings gathered in the hospital chapel. The lights were dim, and candles flickered softly as they prayed. Jessa led a small hymn, her voice trembling. Joy sat beside her, clutching a Bible tightly. Even Josh, who had been distant from the family for so long, knelt beside Anna, his head bowed in genuine grief. For the first time in years, every grudge, every difference vanished, replaced by a shared fear of loss. Meanwhile, in the ICU, Josie's condition worsened. Her temperature rose again, her breathing more labored. Nurses moved quickly around her bed, adjusting the machines. Michelle held her daughter's face in her hands. "Michelle," through tears, "Josie, listen to me. You're stronger than this. You've always been my miracle." Josie's eyes fluttered open just a little, her voice faint. "Josie, Mom, don't cry. I can feel you praying." "Michelle, I'll never stop, sweetheart. Never." Her fingers tightened around her mother's hand before she drifted back into unconsciousness. Outside the ICU, Jim Bob broke down for the first time. He leaned against the wall, his shoulders shaking, his faith being tested in a way it never had before. Jana came to him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Jana. Dad, she's going to make it." "Jim Bob, I want to believe that, Jana. I really do. But I don't know if I can watch her go through this again." The hours stretched on endlessly. Every second felt like an eternity. The doctors did everything they could. IVs, oxygen, medications, but Josie's body was fading faster than anyone expected. As night fell, the hospital lights dimmed. The family took turns sitting with her. Michelle refused to leave, praying in a whisper even when her voice was too weak to continue. Around midnight, Dr. Peters returned again, his face solemn. "Dr. Peters, her body is responding very slowly to the antibiotics. But there's something else." Everyone looked at him, terrified. "Dr. Peters, her organs are starting to strain. We might have to move her to critical care if her condition doesn't improve by morning." The room went silent. Jinger began to cry quietly. Jim Bob walked over to Michelle, placing his hands on her shoulders. Jim Bob, softly, we won't leave her side. No matter what happens. The camera pans over the sleeping faces of the family scattered in the waiting room. Exhausted, broken, yet holding on to faith. In the ICU, Josie's monitor beeped steadily. A single tear slid down her cheek as if even in her sleep, she could feel her family's love surrounding her. Then the beeping slowed. The nurse rushed in calling for help. The alarm echoed through the hall as the screen faded to black. The sound of the heart monitor filled the ICU like a distant clock, counting down the seconds of a long and sleepless night. The cold blue light from the machines painted shadows on the wall, and outside, the storm returned, rain tapping softly against the window, as if heaven itself was crying with the Duggars. Michelle hadn't left Josie's side for a single moment. Her hands trembled as she held Josie's small, fragile fingers. Her lips moved in constant prayer, sometimes aloud, sometimes silently, but never stopping. Jim Bob stood by the doorway, watching helplessly. The man who had always been the pillar of the family now looked small, broken, like a father who could no longer fix what mattered most. Jana, Jinger, and Jessa sat outside the ICU, their eyes red and swollen. Empty coffee cups and prayer cards scattered across the small waiting table. Jinger leaned her head on Jana's shoulder. Jinga, whispering, do you think she can hear us? Jana, I think she can. Josie's always been stronger than anyone believes. Meanwhile, the younger siblings sat in the hospital chapel with Anna, quietly praying. The candlelight flickered over their faces as joy led them in a soft hymn. The melody drifted down the hallway, finding its way to the ICU, mixing with the beeping of the monitors, a haunting, beautiful echo of faith and love. Inside the ICU, Josie's breathing became shallow again. Her skin was pale as snow, her heartbeat faint. The nurse called for Dr. Peters immediately. Michelle stood frozen as the room filled with people. Nurses adjusting lines, a doctor shouting numbers, alarms blaring. Jim Bob rushed to her side. Jim Bob, holding her shoulders, Michelle, you need to step back. Michelle crying, no, I can't leave her. She needs me. The nurse gently pulled Michelle away as doctors began chest compressions. The world around her blurred. The sound of machines faded, replaced by the echo of memories. Josie's first steps, her laughter echoing through the halls, the day she said, I love you, for the first time. Michelle sank to her knees in the corner of the room, whispering, Michelle, please God, please don't take her. You gave her to me once. Don't take her away now. Outside, the family gathered by the glass window, watching helplessly as the medical team worked on Josie. Tears streamed down Jana's face. Jinger buried her face in Jeremy's chest. Even Josh, usually stoic, broke down, whispering, not her, please not her. Minutes passed like hours. Then suddenly, the flatline sound changed. The beeping returned, slow and steady. Josie's heart was beating again. Dr. Peters looked up, exhausted but relieved. Dr. Peters, she's back. We've got her back. Michelle rushed to the bedside, gripping Josie's hand tightly. Michelle, sobbing, you scared us, sweetheart. You scared all of us. Josie didn't respond. She was unconscious but alive. Machines hummed softly around her, keeping her safe for now. The doctor turned to the family with a heavy sigh. Dr. Peters, she's stable, but her body is still very weak. The next 24 hours will decide everything. The family nodded silently. They knew this was far from over. That night, the Duggar family decided to stay at the hospital, every single one of them. The waiting room became a temporary home. Blankets on the floor, whispered prayers, siblings holding each other close. Jana read Bible verses softly while Joy hummed a lullaby their mother used to sing when they were kids. Jim Bob stepped outside into the quiet parking lot. The storm had finally passed, leaving a thin mist in the air. He looked up at the sky, his eyes full of tears. Jim Bob, softly, God, I don't know what you're planning, but I'll trust you. Just let me take her pain if you must. Not her. Inside, Michelle leaned over Josie, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. She whispered softly, Michelle, you're our miracle, Josie. You always were. And no matter what happens, we love you. The camera zooms in on Josie's still hand in her mother's palm. A fragile connection between life and love. The monitor continues to beep softly in the background as the lights dim. and a new day begins to break outside. The narrator's voice fades in quietly. When faith is tested by pain, and love stands on the edge of loss, sometimes all that's left is hope. The night may be long, but even the darkest night ends with the morning light. The first light of dawn slipped through the blinds of the ICU, painting the room in a soft golden glow. The storm that had raged through the night was gone. Only silence remained, heavy and sacred. Michelle opened her eyes after a sleepless night, her head resting beside Josie's hand on the bed. Her fingers were still wrapped around her daughter's, as if letting go might break the fragile thread that still held Josie to life. Jim Bob was sitting quietly near the window, his Bible open in his lap, but his eyes were fixed on Josie. The steady beep-beep of the heart monitor filled the room. Slow, gentle, steady. For the first time in days, it sounded strong. Dr. Peters entered quietly, his expression softer than before. He smiled faintly, glancing at the readings on the monitor. Dr. Peters. Her vitals are improving. She made it through the night. Michelle's breath caught. She looked up, her voice breaking. Michelle. She's going to be okay? Dr. Peters, nodding. If her body keeps responding like this, yes. She's not out of danger completely, but she's fighting back. She's a miracle. Michelle pressed her forehead against Josie's hand, tears of relief flowing freely. Michelle. Thank you, God, thank you. Outside in the hallway, Jana and Jinger hugged each other as they heard the news. Joy began to cry, her sobs turning into laughter. Even Josh smiled weakly, whispering, "She's tougher than all of us." One by one, the family filed into the room. The tiny ICU could barely hold them all, but no one cared. They surrounded Josie's bed, the once loud, chaotic Duggar family now united in quiet gratitude. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher, its rays spilling across Josie's pale face. Slowly, her eyelids fluttered. Michelle froze, then leaned closer. Josie weakly, almost a whisper, "Mom, where am I?" Michelle sobbing, smiling through tears, "You're safe, sweetheart. You're in the hospital. You scared us half to death." Josie, a faint smile, "I saw light, Mom. It was warm. I thought I was dreaming." Michelle. "You were close, baby. But God sent you back to us." Jana couldn't hold back her tears anymore. She rushed forward and hugged her sister gently, careful not to disturb the wires. Jana. "You did it, Josie. You made it through the longest night." Jim Bob placed his hand on Josie's shoulder, his voice trembling. "Jim Bob. You're our miracle twice now, Josie. Once when you were born, and again today." The camera pans across the faces of the family, relief, tears, smiles. Jinger takes out her phone and snaps a picture. The entire family together, holding Josie's hands. It wasn't a posed photo, it was raw, imperfect, and real. Days later, Josie was moved out of the ICU. The Duggars decorated her room with flowers, balloons, and pictures. The air was filled with laughter again, soft and cautious but full of life. One evening, as the sun set over the Arkansas hills, the family gathered outside the hospital garden. Josie sat in a wheelchair, wrapped in a blanket, the golden light reflecting in her eyes. She looked at everyone, her parents, her sisters, her brothers, and smiled. "Josie, I thought I was leaving, but maybe God wanted me to remind everyone how much we still need each other." Michelle. "You did, sweetheart. You reminded us what family really means." Jim Bob pulled Michelle close, and for a moment everything felt still. No fame, no cameras, no expectations, just family, faith, and the fragile beauty of being alive. As the camera zooms out, the sun slowly dips behind the trees, and the soft music swells. The narrator's voice returns one last time. In the quiet moments between fear and faith, love becomes the greatest miracle of all. The night may test us, but the morning always brings light. And with it, hope.